Well, hello, and thank you for joining us on this live for Disclosurefest and Stairway to the Stars. We have JJ and Desiree Hurtak, and you two have been such pioneers in the ancient civilization, into the UFO, UAP, into religion, into so many aspects of what is really activating so many people in the remembering of their connection to the cosmos. So thank you for doing this. Thank you for being a part of this event. And it's just such a gift to have you on. And yeah, thank you so much.
Well, we're so excited to be there with you all, and Las Vegas is the perfect place, especially the Luxor Hotel. We used to go there when it first opened. So, it's going to be great because even just the energy of the pyramid that is created there is going to make this a great event. But all the people that you've brought together, and yes, everything from consciousness awakening to extraterrestrials. And we do believe that there are many levels that people are awakening to right now. So having events like yours helps people to grow and evolve into realizing what's taking place on planet Earth.
And the indigenous traditions, the native traditions that we've investigated in South America, Africa, Australia, and the United States, hold many of the secrets to the contact story. Remember years ago, in conversation with astronaut Harrison Schmitt, who was the last geologist on the moon, we were talking about the contact story. And he said, it's interesting to note that many of these contacts have taken place on the reservations of the North American tribes. And I said, it's not surprising because they hold the record of having a type of spiritual psychology, not to be afraid, but to be opened to the sounds, the music, and what we will call the higher consciousness, which I think is going to come out of the present disclosure conferences in Washington, D.C., as to how we can put together a new language of sound and what I would call mental flexibility to hear the languages of the cosmic cultures.
Right, and that's why it's so important also your conference this year is because of what's been released in Washington. I think most people have seen the Senate hearings and the very most recent one that had literally 2 witnesses and a whistleblower come forth and say, I saw it, I know it, and I know it's not government. It's not ours, it's not theirs, it's extraterrestrials, or as they were saying, something of non-human origin. And so people want answers, and you're going to be providing it for them with panels and our talks and other talks.
We're sociologists, social scientists, cosmologists, but also we're interested in what I will call the spiritual traditions. And Ellen Steinfeld, our mutual colleague who will be there at the conference, published this amazing book, was #1 on Amazon for many months, Making Contact. And in this interesting collection of essays, he refers to the work of John Mack at Harvard University, who went to Africa to work with children who in the so-called aerial school back lot or playground saw several of these extraterrestrial beings head on, face to face. Yeah. We're not surprised, and this is an interesting sideline to the story, that young people seemed in the generation of Steven Spielberg to realize we're not alone in the universe and that we need a better psychology, a better sociology.
And we just got back from Mexico, and we were very close. We were in Palenque, which is, of course, another sacred area. It's the place where they have that tomb. It's a long staircase down at the very bottom. You have that guy. He looks like he's an ancient astronaut. And that's right in the area very close to Campeche. And in 2004, very similar time, just before the Nimitz event off of San Diego, you actually had at least 13 vehicles, very huge, that were captured on radar, visual radar, by the military of Mexico, who were looking for drug runners. So they know a lot about what's going on. Yes, Dr. Hurtak has a picture of this. This is one example of what they picked up.
Now, according to the clouds, of course, this is at a very high elevation.
But the vehicles over here?
The vehicles look very small, like the white dots, but really they're anywhere from 25 to 30 stories high.
Yeah, oh wow.
There was not only 11 of them, but there was hundreds of them, but that was part of the story that wasn't released by the military of the government of Mexico. I was part of the research team that wanted to bring this information forward, but it was considered by the authorities in the United States that this was too shocking and people were not prepared. Therefore, the story was put on the back burner. Nonetheless, in future investigations, I believe in Washington, this, along with other stories, will be discussed, that there is a cosmic context story behind the scenes of enormous proportions.
Right. The debunking said, oh, it was just oil fields in the Gulf. I mean, I'm sorry. These guys are Mexican Air Force. They know the difference from looking at the ground and looking up. And, you know, it's very clear from even the radar data. That
Well,
this
it was
was
military radar as well as what we call FLIR.
Forward-looking infrared, yeah.
So they had the best of technology. And in my conversation with Jaime Maussan, who was the leading journalist in Latin America on this, he said this was really a prize event that went on for several days in Campeche.
And that was just months before the Nimitz event, which also really went on for several days. And of course, you heard Captain Faber at the Senate hearing talking about what he saw. You know, he said clearly, you know, it's definitely not our technologies, even anywhere in the world.
Yeah, such amazing times. There's so much going on. But you brought up some really interesting history with our Indigenous, and our Indigenous also being aware of this. I mean, there's been just countless petroglyphs all over the world that depict UFOs and astronauts and things like that, and even before the times of astronauts. So what are those? And then all the hieroglyphs within are you know, different ruins and the pyramids all over the world, which you've actually researched yourself. And then now we're kind of coming back around to this time of like full-on disclosure with hearings happening with, and like this, the number of sightings, like, you know, the number has gone up like exponentially. So like, what is your message with this time, and not just about disclosure, but more about like, you know, ascension and this activation to like remember, like what's your message to our community right now?
Well, right now we feel we're in like the day of graduation, very close to that at least, that we're going to meet extraterrestrials. But as we mentioned in the book Making Contact, we also think there's extra celestials, which are beings that are not material beings, but maybe have connected in some way with the earth. And then we also call others ultra terrestrial beings, which are those of really these higher cosmic dimensions.
They don't need spaceships to break apart. They are in a category we'll call the avatars, or in the Christian tradition, the archangelic realm. The management behind the local management behind the human race. And so we're seeing all of these things come together, suggesting that we need a new roadmap. So our message is we need to be prepared to be cosmic citizens. We need to have greater respect and compassion for the greater opportunities we have as human citizens, but also as earthlings on a small planet, suddenly being aware that there's a cosmic university that is behind what we call the energy of the soul, the psychic energy, or the dimensions that govern the hardware and the software of the body and the mind, suggesting that we have also what the keys of Enoch call the lightware, or divine sparks, of energies that give us a sudden glimpse that life as we know it doesn't stop with Mother Earth, but continues. Evolution doesn't stop with the 21st century, but continues. And we're now meeting with those who are so far advanced from us, they make us look like little, shall we say, children in a merry-go-round.
Yeah.
We're suddenly realizing that we need more honesty on high levels of government. In my work with Gordon Cooper, who was really the pioneer astronaut who broke the records and was given awards by John F. Kennedy, our country has been locked into a box of lies, and we need to really set the record straight that we are prepared really to go ahead and acknowledge the imbalances that we had during the Cold War, when things were kept under top secrecy on all levels of information. Having worked with Gordon Cooper on this book that Desiree mentioned,
Doomsday Conspiracy by Sidney Sheldon.
and having a conversation with him as a test pilot, as he told us in 1951, seeing hundreds of spaceships over Germany.
Right, he saw a whole flotilla, and this is 51. I mean, that's not where the government had that kind of technology.
We were pleased to see that at the time the powers that be didn't lock him up, but made him an astronaut.
Yeah, we said that's a definite, you know, that they knew about ETs and they knew he wasn't overreacting to ETs.
So Gresh and Favre and
Graves.
graves should follow in the footsteps of astronaut Gordon Cooper.
And it's interesting in all these, at least Graves and Favor, that they've said, it's not just one day, not just one sighting. They happened to be there and they wanted to go look. These things had happened over a period of days, and in some cases, a period of months, especially Graves was talking about the East Coast, some of those appearances as well. But I think one of the interesting things that we want to say about, our consciousness raising is that although we do believe extraterrestrials come in many shapes and sizes, if I can say that, you have reptilians, insectoids, you have grays, you have all these, but you also have us. And I think that that's the key to understanding. In fact, we just did a short video comment on James Fox's film, Moment of Contact, which is about the Varginha case, because Dr. Hurtak had worked with that in Brazil at one point when it first took place.
In 1996.
And we knew that there was a mental communication between the aliens who were alive at that time, but dying, not doing too well, because they didn't survive well in our atmosphere for whatever reason. So, but they did mentally communicate. And one of the things they said, and I'll just paraphrase, but what James had said, and to Stan Freeman, who picked up on the data, is that
Stan Freeman? No, it was Roger.
No, Stan Freeman at that point. But anyway, bottom line on all that was that they said, about humanity, you don't know your potential, you don't know who you really are.
Right.
And so they're kind of indicating, and we believe this, that even though we don't want to be narcissistic or anything like that, that we are out in space. We've been quarantined, and everyone now knows what that is, for, actually 6,000 years. And this is lifting, but who are we really? Well, we have the potential for remote viewing, for mental communication, for everything that we hear about extraterrestrials. We just don't have the technology, but we have all that potential. In fact, we actually think we have light energy bodies, and we have the ability in our consciousness to be anywhere, not just, as the remote viewers had shown us, not just the other side of the planet, not just past, present, and even future, but even into the cosmos. And I think some of the people coming to your conference not only have had that experience, but actually can talk about it, that they have had experiences on higher levels of consciousness reality.
I was also referring to Dr. Roger Lear, who did follow our work. You were there in 1996. Right. And in our book, The Keys of Enoch, which we published in 1973, we actually mentioned at the end of the book that 2004 would be a time of scientific change where people would recognize intelligence coming out of the ocean. So this is the only book that I know of that speaks specifically of a watermark in global history when people would see, as they did in the oceans and the Gulf of Mexico, as well as in the Pacific region off of California, major events in 2004, which shook up the scientific community so much so it wasn't until 2017 that these documents, film documents from radar cameras and apparatus were released. So once and for all, we have proof that we're not alone.
And Dr. Hurtak shows in his Keys of Enoch book, the pyramids on Mars. We do believe that they're there. That was something that they're now called the Sagan pyramids, if anyone wants to Google
We
them.
were the first to do the remote viewing. And I got permission from NASA authorities to release these pictures in key 104 of the Keys of Enoch.
Yeah, but I was also going to mention, I'll show those quickly. So this is.
I remember those back in the 90s when Richard Hoagland was big on the pyramids and the face on Mars.
Well, this was published in the 70s, but also Dr. Hurtak mentioned about that, and we've worked extensively in the Great Pyramid and how the star shafts align to Orion. He was one of the first to come out with that data. Go ahead.
One of the things, I'm just really happy you brought this up, and I don't want it to kind of fall short because it's so important. It's kind of one of the reasons why, even with Disclosure, everyone asks, like, Disclosurefest, why are you calling it Disclosurefest? And everyone just thinks automatically because it's just ETs or conspiracies or whatever it is. It has nothing to do with that. It's because we are the disclosure. So
that's right.
When you're talking about the ETs in Brazil telling them telepathically that, and by the way, James Fox is going to be at our event, and he's going to be screening that movie. When he talks about that, like, we don't know our potential, that's the real disclosure. And that's really why I'm doing these type of events as well, because I remember going to all these expos starting early in the 90s. And what I felt even from back then was that people would come home, including myself. I fell into that rabbit hole as well, where I'd come home from one of these things and all I'm doing is like researching what are my favorite speakers going to say next and all this different stuff. And we're just like addicted to the information. And where is the going inward part and the real discovery going to happen? So when I took this on as a nonprofit, as just an ambassador to our communities and our and humanity, I want to make sure that like everything that we do leads back to people coming home from these conferences and really going inward. And I love that you all bring that up, because there's so much research and so much diversity within your research, which leaves these questions of like, well, what is left to do but go in.
Exactly right. And the preoccupation with conspiracy or who hid the nuts and bolts of a spaceship is, in my logic, a diversion from discovering our real destiny, that we are spiritual beings in human form. Most of us work according to three-dimensional laws, but now we're moving ahead into the fifth dimension, higher laws of science, a new science of consciousness, a new science of spirituality, of interconnectedness with divine, shall we say, nature that runs throughout the universe, that is the background energy field that puts these things together, not in terms of a short lifetime of 70 years, but in terms of multiple lifetimes, where consciousness gives us the opportunity and the go-ahead to discover, but to co-create and to share. And that's the inner part that's so important. And Desiree and I were privileged to work with Elizabeth Rauscher from Stanford Research Institute. And our book, which is a bestseller, Mind Dynamics in Space and Time, is really the X-Files of how government scientists realized that the mind can travel without restriction. There's no such thing as absolute space and time. We were able to travel mentally to Russia, under the pyramids, and find the tomb of Osiris back in 1997.
In Egypt as well.
2 years before Zion was founded officially, we found it. But people would not accept the fact that we could travel with the power of the mind, but we were able to take cameras, fortunately with us under the Great Pyramids, to show we were there first. And our work with also Ingo Swann. Ingo Swann was able to see the ring around Jupiter before NASA ships got there.
Yeah, and he saw it in 72, and they didn't get there till 79, confirmed everything he saw.
So what does this mean? It means that we have a higher global consciousness. We are all linked mentally and spiritually, and I'm using the word spiritually in the sense of higher love, higher compassion, higher wisdom that makes the world go around, but also ultimately allows the raising of consciousness so the human civilization is not locked only into the definements of one solar system. We're going to travel through the universe, our offspring, our grandchildren, people from all backgrounds who look back and say, this is the WOW movement, W-O-W, when we suddenly put all the pieces together. And
but we often say you can travel in a spaceship or you can travel with the power of the mind. And so you don't even have to wait till the technology comes to have those experiences. And I think that's where many people are going to be talking about at your conference, the experiences that they have had about not only extraterrestrials, but the higher forces.
Well, we're going to show pictures of some of the secrets under the pyramid, never before shown.
Amazing. Oh, wow. Oh, that's going to be so. Yeah, let's get into that just for a few minutes before we have to get off. And so you're going to be doing your own talk and exploring the cosmic frontiers. Is that kind of it? And then from there we're going to do some panels. So let's get into your talk for a little bit, and then we'll just kind of let people know about a couple panels and just but don't divulge too much because we got to leave everyone excited.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to be talking about the cosmic agenda. So that's important because there are different forms of intelligence. So you have to realize, it's not they're only here for this reason, they're only here for that reason. Basically, you have to start breaking it down to see, based on the intelligence, the contact, the realities. Like Linda Mullen-Howe, I believe she'll be there, won't she, with you? I think she'll be talking maybe a little bit about the cattle mutilation.
And going back to the archaeological areas of knowledge in Egypt and beyond, we're going to show how our ancestors were more flexible and accepted the fact that you can see in their art in the hieroglyphics the fact that we are one of many planets of civilization. And then we're going to take this into what Desiree and I have been involved with, which is mind over matter, some of the studies of remote viewing, remote sensing, and beyond. And I'm brought with me today this famous picture taken of me near the pyramids of Tulum in Mexico in the year 2000. We're in a higher state of meditation using sacred mantras or energy forms of sound. Suddenly, a paraphysical light appears around my body. A man taking a picture of his wife, his face at the bottom right of the screen, suddenly captures in a few seconds the reality that higher intelligence beyond the extraterrestrial is able to communicate and manifest.
Right. And you often, you were just saying as well that, it's one thing to get information, it's another thing to be able to start processing it. So we hope during our talk that we actually start giving some exercises, whether it's remote viewing, sometimes we do that, or also some mantras so that people can kind of close with like realizing that there really is a portal to ascension that's available for everybody. And, this is why the main thing is, people say, how do you do it? How do you do it? Well, first things first, you have to know you can do it. And
Right.
That's the potential that we all
And this
have.
is why we're citizen diplomats. And this is the other aspect of our work, is to show through space law and science that we're in a situation now. It's not just going to be the military chain of command, but be average persons who have a sense of love, dignity, and interest in the future to negotiate with other worlds. It's the title of one of my small books, Negotiating with Other Worlds, which is basically the basic ABCs that we need to know about. Working with those who look like us gives us a psychological advantage, because if we're going to be looking to the future, we're going to have to be in the same habitat of those closest to our psychology and our heart.
And tying into even the Egyptian, they had a whole plethora of different types of intelligence. And I believe the solar boat was really a solar boat or a stellar boat that took you to the heavens. So you have the bird-faced ones. We just did a talk on the bird man, which you find in every culture, and other aspects of, you have the reptilians in the Egyptian, you have that. So these are all intelligences that are out there. Who are they?
So this is a whole new biology and sociology of taking the next step of unity throughout the universe, unity throughout the planetary system we call Mother Earth, our home planet, and also working out the details of a whole new educational system. You could call it UFOs 101 or extraterrestrial science 101, where people will learn to take the next step of combining the right psychology, the right sociology, the right vibration of music of their heart, and the right responsibility of helping humanity so that everyone has the chance to move forward into cosmic citizenship.
So amazing. Yeah, thank you. And you know what, it's going to be so special. This is why I'm so excited that you're part of this event, because you bring so much. And, again, I don't know if you know this, but everyone will have a memo, all the presenters, that with every presentation, there is a drop in to meditation. So
wonderful.
I love that you're already, planning ahead. We also,
thank you for your leadership skills and realizing the bigger teamwork that's necessary.
Yeah, it's so important. We have you on a couple of panels I want to mention. First of all, our Ascension panel with Deborah Giusti, and that one is really because you two really bring a lot to the table, a lot of information, a lot of insight, and that's important to have you on that. And then I have you also on our Ancient Civilizations panel, which you two really can drop in on. And then also you will have your own area there, because you're showing all these books, but people are going to be like, where do I get them? And I want you all to know that you're going to be able to get all of these books by JJ and Desiree at Stairway to the Stars. And also, please share with where people can find you, and and drop in and get more downloads from you two amazing people.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was going to say the Ascension panel is unique, and not unique for us, I should say, because Dr. Hurtak actually had a unique experience in '73 where he was taken into other realities beyond the extraterrestrial, is actually in a pillar of light. And that's where the keys of Enoch really came from. And all these confirmations, and that was '73, have come to pass. Even the fact that saying that he quoted, "Our sun is a variable star." And this is what Goddard and NASA Goddard and others are saying now. In fact, they think that 2025 was going to be the solar max. Now they're even saying it could be a variable star and maybe 2024. We don't even know. So, I mean, we're even seeing these things that he talked about in the 70s. Very exciting.
So we're going to share some very interesting film from under the earth, our work in outer space, through remote viewing, some of our studies that have carried on throughout the world, with the idea that this is going to be a certain, what I will call, takeoff point for all of those who are gathered. Stairway to the skies is another way of saying Jacob's ladder.
To the stars. And ultimately, also, you know, in terms of the ancient panels, we've actually gone and done music recordings and frequency analysis in some of the sacred chambers of both Mexico and Egypt. And of course, in addition to that, as I mentioned, Dr. Hurtak pointed out, the relationship actually about Egypt and also Mexico relationship to Orion and to certain star constellations. Both of them had recognized these sacred points. And we believe that's part of our own heritage as well.
So where can people find you?
Right. Best is keysofenoch.org. That's our website. And then you can go also to our YouTube or Facebook channel, other things like that.
So obviously Enoch in Spanish, same word, the Keys of Enoch. And there you'll find a listing of some of our film documentaries, our work that has taken us to more than 30 countries.
But you're right. We're bringing it all to you and we'll be there.
Well, there you go. JJ and Desiree Hurtak going to be at Stairway to the Stars. It's going to be brought to you by Disclosurefest Foundation and Fade to Black Radio and Gaia. And we're just so excited to have you. If you're really interested in going, which you should be, November 10, 11, and 12, get your tickets now, disclosurefest.org. Again, disclosurefest.org. On Saturday, there's an extra ticket to jump on a bus and go 3 miles away from Area 51 with a whole nother presentation along the way with one of your favorite hosts. And we'll be doing a private, intimate sky watch and meteor shower. It's meteor shower month there in Rachel, Nevada. And then there's a dinner gala on Sunday night with some unbelievable prizes. We have autographed guitars from iconic rock stars, and Dolly Parton just sent a bunch of stuff. So all ticket holders are going to be winning certain prizes, and then there's an award ceremony and just so many different things. We have such an amazing weekend planned, November 10, 11, and 12. Join us, disclosurefest.org. Thank you, JJ and Desiree, and we'll see you in the stars.
Blessings.
Thank you.
Bye.